Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Stacking the Box. No more undefeated teams left. The 1972 Miami Dolphins can pop champagne relatively early this year. It only took 6 weeks already. No undefeated teams left. It is myself, as always, Iain MacMillan, Sterling Holmes joining me as always. We got a full show today. We're going to talk a lot of injuries because this seemed to be the weekend of injuries in the NFL. As always, we're going to talk winners and losers. We're going to talk about I'm going to make Sterling guess who the betting favorite is to win each of the major awards this year, because a couple surprising ones as I was looking through them earlier today. And then we're going to talk about who the biggest frauds are in the NFL. And then, of course, we will preview week 7 of the NFL. We got a couple big games coming up this weekend. Sterling, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We're in this nice little fall weather. Some early morning Sunday golf, right? Although I will say the early morning London games have been a nice treat as well. Nothing like waking up, making some coffee, sitting in your robe and watching football from 8 a.m. until, 10 p.m. It's absolutely lovely. Man, things are great over here.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say fall is officially here. So I broke out my flannel for today's show since it is officially fall. Nothing better than fall golf, fall sports. Everything is going great. And speaking of fall sports, you should be betting on fall sports. And when you do bet on fall sports, whether it's football or hockey has started or anything else, you should do it over at DraftKings Sportsbook, because they are running a new promotion that you don't want to miss. New users can place a $5 bet to instantly claim $200 in bonus bets. You will also be rewarded with a separate no-sweat single-game parlay every single day when you opt in. All you have to do is sign up with our code STB. Using our code STB not only gets you these great bonuses, but it also directly supports our podcast. If you've been considering signing up for DraftKings Sportsbook, and you should, make sure to use the code STB to maximize your first bets and parlays. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify.
Was there anything in there about fading me? Was there anything in there about if you want your best chance to win, fade Sterling?
There is not, but you could place your first $5 bet, or you could take those bonus bets that you get and fade Sterling.
Yeah, you got to probably do pretty well.
We are going to get into that because, of course, we got to give out some picks for next week. But Sterling, I have the updated records here, 5-11 so far, giving out picks on the show. But I will say, still alive in Survivor, and I've been eliminated for weeks. So you at least early on the season, picking spreads and totals might not be your strong suit, but you know how to pick a good Survivor.
Hey, and you came with this last week. This was your own thing where the prize gets bigger and bigger. If I go the whole way, I think I'm getting a new driver.
Yes.
I think that was the whole thing.
Right. So now I'm starting to get nervous. It was a big win for you with the Rams this past week. Of course, we will end the show with our picks for week 7. But first, we got to talk week 6 of the NFL season. As always, we open with our biggest winners and losers of week 6. Sterling, who's your biggest winner?
Lions fans.
Yes.
Lions fans, come on. You moved to 5-1. Jared Goff looks like an actual good quarterback. His second half of last year doesn't seem to be a fluke. The Lions defense is starting to actually come together. You're seeing the building blocks in place. Aiden Hutchinson is a madman. He's getting his name thrown in there with the elites on the defensive line. Amon-Ra St. Brown, is still Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dude is electric. And again, I had a chance to talk with him on Stacking the Box. If you're going to check that out, check it out after the episode, Stacking the Box YouTube channel. Amon-Ra St. Brown, just talking with him, he ran a 4.59. The combine numbers don't jump out you. And when you look at him play, you're like, what does he excel at? He's a gamer. That's what he does. He epitomizes the Detroit Lions fan base. He's awesome. I am so happy for Detroit fans who have gone through nothing but struggle year after year after year. Even having good quarterbacks and a good receiver could never get it done. They're 5-1. They look legitimately good. I am so happy for Lions fans.
Yeah, Lions look like they're actually going to be real contenders in the NFC. And also shout out to those people who are both Detroit Lions fans and Michigan football fans. What a time to be alive. Obviously, yeah.
Michigan, I don't like because they stole the Mizzou logo. Not a fan of it. Don't look up who was founded first. Don't look it up.
What do you mean they stole the Mizzou logo, though?
The M.
Oh, okay.
You know,
When I think of Mizzou, I just think of the tiger.
the block M, and it's not great because I'll wear my Mizzou block M on vacation, and people are like, "Oh, look, Michigan fan." I'm like, "Bleep you, guy." Okay,
right.
no, I have way more struggles in my life than to be a Michigan fan.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Very tortured.
Yeah, but I don't blame them because I can't even picture what the Missouri Block M looks like. I just picture the tiger logo.
What's your biggest winner before I dive into the deep end?
My biggest winner is the Browns defense. Everyone's talking this year about the Dolphins offense being at a historic pace, really on a league of their own. Not enough people are talking about how good this Browns defense is, which has been dominant to say the least. By far the best defense in the NFL, and it's not even close. No matter what metric you look at, if you want to look at simple stats like opponent yards per play, if you want to look at more advanced numbers like opponent EPA per play, the Cleveland Browns are in a complete league of their own. Their defense won them this game against the San Francisco 49ers this past week. Obviously, it was a bit of a weird game, a lot of injuries for the 49ers. But still, this Browns defense is good enough that it can carry this team far into the postseason, potentially. If they can shut down the 49ers offense, they can shut down anyone. So Browns defense, legit. Very, very, very legit. So they are my biggest winner of the week.
Yeah, they have been extremely impressive. By the way, I love the 49ers fans who are making complaints after the game saying an excuse like, oh, well, Debo got hurt and CMC got hurt. The Browns played without their starting quarterback. You don't get an excuse. You don't get to have the injury excuse. That is all Browns. So I got to tip my cap to them because, as you mentioned, that defense is electric. For me, biggest loser, I don't want to do the Panthers again, but maybe it's still slightly Panthers because it's Colts fans for losing Anthony Richardson. Richardson looked really good to start this year. He was starting to really come into his own. Now, they thought he was going to be out 4 weeks. Then it was 6 weeks, up to 8. Now it looks like he is likely to miss the rest of the season, undergoing season-ending surgery. Obviously, they're going to give us more details as the week progresses on, but not looking good. It's more of a safety precaution than anything else, right? The Colts aren't going anywhere. You know, the Colts aren't going anywhere. Might as well let your franchise-altering quarterback get right, get healthy, and get ready for next season. So I understand where they're coming from, but if you're a Colts fan, it's kind of a bummer seeing what you saw with Richardson, and now you're sitting here going, well, season's kind of over. I love Gardner. Look at the mustache. I love Gardner Minshew. He ain't Anthony Richardson.
No, and I was high on Gardner Minshew heading into this past week, but that was a pretty bad performance against the Jaguars. So, I mean, there's certainly worse options out there at quarterback than Gardner Minshew, but at least if you're a fan of a bad team, but you have like a rookie quarterback, then it can be exciting to cheer for that guy. But now you don't have that for the rest of the year. So I agree. Heartbreaking loss in the injury department for Colts fans. My biggest loser is Chargers fans, and maybe just the Chargers as a whole, because they seem to play in the exact same game on a weekly basis. It seems like every single week it's neck and neck the whole way. They get down by a late score. Chargers have one final drive to either tie or win, and they either turn the ball over on downs or Justin Herbert throws an interception. As I see him once again, going to be battling the sun today because it's kind of cloudy and kind of a clear sky. I'm going to fix my brightness. Sterling, give me your thoughts on the Chargers.
Dude, this is the biggest battle of 2023, the sun versus Iain. I will say Iain looks like he might be a dude who gets absolutely roasted in the sun too. Sorry, as he steps away, I'm absolutely roasting Iain. But, I think it's kind of fair. The sun versus Iain, biggest battle of 2023. The Chargers, you're completely right, man. They're so talented. You look at them every single year and go, there is so much talent on this roster. And they always find a way, in the words of Reggie Miller, to fourth quarter choke. It's what they do best. It's Chargers chargering. They have their own verb named after them. It's impressive. And I find myself sitting here saying Justin Herbert is a top 5 talent quarterback-wise in the NFL. Seriously. Justin Herbert's probably a talent conversation. Talent only takes you so far. I don't want to hear the head coach excuse. I don't want to hear the excuse of Mike Williams got hurt. That is still a very talented team. At some point, I hate QB wins being a stat. I understand that. You do have to win. You have to stop being the dude that has a great 3.5 quarters and then turns the ball over when the game's on the line. Come on now.
Yeah, but like this is the same Chargers team that it was when Philip Rivers was there. I feel like my entire life, my 20 years as a football fan, I feel like it's the same Chargers game I've seen a million times. They get the ball with one more drive with a chance to tie or win the game, and they just don't get it. So I don't know if it's a quarterback thing because it was the same thing when Philip Rivers is there. I don't know. I think the franchise just might be cursed. I think they might just need to fold because the Chargers might just be cursed. They're cursed to lose on the last drive every game of their existence.
I've said before, they've changed head coaches. They've changed quarterbacks. They've changed cities.
Yeah.
Still the same team.
Just fold the franchise at this point. As the sun goes behind a cloud, so now it's dark in here. Also, my cat was howling at my door. I don't know if the microphone was getting picked up. So I'm battling the elements today.
Yeah, you're a real trooper out there.
Injury updates. A lot of injuries. One of the worst weeks for injuries, in my opinion, that I remember. Not only did we have a scary injury with Damian Harrison of the Patriots getting carted off in an ambulance, but also starting quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson you talked about, Justin Fields, Jimmy Garoppolo. And then they got the 49ers, arguably their three best players hurt. Now we'll see how long they're going to be out for. But Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, all didn't finish the game. All listed as questionable. Any other injuries I'm missing?
No, I mean, it's been a brutal year for injuries to top-end players.
Yep.
I hate seeing injuries happen. It just sucks. I always feel for the player. I know people always think of their fantasy team. They think of some of the implications of their own team. But a lot of the times I think of the player themselves, right? That's a long road to recovery, a lot of these injuries. Like, imagine being away from your job for a year. You train your entire time, the offseason, to get to this point, and then you get hurt and your season's done. You're done for. You're a year older. That's a year you're not making an impact in the NFL. I always feel really bad for the players, as Iain is absolutely looking like he's in a 90s, like a grunge band right now. He's totally listening to Fell on Black Days by Soundgarden right now. It's really impressive, Iain.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the sun is because I'm sure if I go and turn my brightness back up, then the sun's going to come out and then you're going to barely be able to see me. So
you look like you're about to tell your mom it's not a phase. Like you're about to tell your mom it's not a phase as you listen to like Mayday Parade.
I did go through an emo phase in grade 7.
We all did. We all did, Iain. Come on now.
I wore eyeliner to school though. I took it pretty hardcore.
Yeah. If you think I didn't have a mullet,
ooh,
yeah, you're out of your mind.
I can picture that.
Yeah.
All right, I think I am gonna try to turn my brightness back up. But the next topic here, and I'll let you, Sterling.
No, this is perfect for Justin Herbert. Really quickly, the lights are too bright, so Iain had to turn it down because when the moments are too bright, what happens? Yes. Iain is Justin Herbert. That's what we just figured out on this show.
Sun just came back out. Perfect timing. We're good.
All right. Are you sick of the 1972 Dolphins? Because
I am.
Every time the undefeated season goes to pass, the first thing anyone says is, well, the 72 Dolphins can pop the champagne. This is a 50-year joke now. I'm over it.
Yeah, me too. Part of me kind of wishes the Patriots beat the Giants in 2007. Now, also, most of me doesn't wish that because I hate the Patriots, and they've had enough success. At least, kind of one thing that you have over them is 18-1 that they blew in the Super Bowl with an undefeated record. But also, I want someone to go undefeated because I'm sick of hearing about the 1972 Dolphins. One of the more overrated teams of all time. Weren't they only like 14-0? Like back then, wasn't a game like the regular season like 12 games and they won 2 playoff games or something? Like it wasn't even that impressive.
I mean, it's still impressive, but it's one of those situations where it's like, you're right. How many teams have won 15? I mean, the Patriots did it. They won 18 games. They were 18-0. That to me almost means more. But doesn't matter. We're not going to SEC rules where it just means more. You got to finish it off. The Patriots didn't finish it off, but I'm with you, man. It's an overdone trope, and I'm so tired of it. Congratulations to the 72 Dolphins, but I'm over it. Will we see another undefeated season, though? Do you think we'll actually see a team go undefeated in the current way the NFL is set up?
Adding in an extra game certainly made it more difficult, that's for sure. I'm going to say yes eventually. I mean, the Patriots did. I mean, the Patriots would have had to play one more regular season game, but I mean, they got right there. But there's just so much variance in the NFL. I mean, we saw with the 49ers. I think the 49ers had a somewhat decent shot to do it this year, but just games happen where just things don't go your way. You have a couple players go down, get hurt during the game. You have a couple bad calls by the referees. Your quarterback has a bit of an off game, and then all of a sudden you lose to the Cleveland Browns with PJ Walker as a quarterback. So I'll say yes eventually. Yeah, I'll say yes. Sometime within the next 50 years, I would say yes.
I will say no. I don't see it happening. There's too much parity in the NFL today. There's just so much parity. The 17th game, 100%, I'm with you. But just in general, like we thought Arizona was tanking clearly. Now, Arizona's not a good team, but they're not this train wreck that we all thought they were going to be. As much as we rip on Carolina and they are horrendous. You're telling me if they had one good game and a team had a bad game, they couldn't find a way to win a game? Like, there's just too much parity in the NFL today. We're not talking Alabama versus an FCS program, okay? These are all dudes who made it to the NFL and they made it here for a reason. Not only that, the end of the season, if a team is, I don't know if they would, let's say they're 15-0, they're already going to have that first seed locked up. The bye is going to be locked up. Do they rest a guy? Do they pull their starters at half? You know, how much do you value trying to get an undefeated season versus, you know, let's make sure we actually are healthy for the Super Bowl, for the playoff run? I just don't see it happening in today's NFL landscape. As much as I would like to see it happen, I have a very, very difficult time believing it will.
In the next 50 years, you don't see it at all?
And I'm a Chiefs fan. Right. I mean, I know the NFL, how it's gone so far. We all were laughing, saying there's no chance the Niners lose to a backup quarterback.
And they did.
There's no chance the Eagles lose to the Jets.
Right. Yeah, crazy. Do you think there's more parity in the NFL this year specifically compared to the average season?
I think
because if you look at the standings right now, like there are a lot of 3-3 teams. And there's a couple of like only a small handful of teams with one loss. Dolphins, one loss, Chiefs. So that's 2 in the AFC. And then so there are only 5 teams with one loss through 6 weeks, which is pretty crazy.
I think we've been trending this way for a while now. Just the way the current NFL landscape is set up. I do think you're going to say more than an average season, sure, but I do think it's been a slow climb to having more and more parity. It just feels like every team, either you have a great quarterback or you have a really good defense. Every team has something. You know, Arizona doesn't really have much, and Carolina doesn't really have much, but they still haven't been this absolute dumpster fire. It just feels like, the teams are so much closer together. It's any given Sunday. You really have no idea. And you mentioned, you were talking before the show about the survivor pool and stuff, right? We're laughing about that. It's almost impossible to pick games. Like, I am shocked I've gone this far because how many heavy hitters have fallen already in games where they were supposed to be double-digit favorites?
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah, the survivor pool I do always every year is run by Joe Ostrowski, and I won't bring up the stats now. I'm already eliminated 3 entries, gone in the first 3 weeks. But it started with, I believe it was 1,700 people. It's down to 431. And this is not spread related. This is just picking a team to win, which you think in theory should be easy. But it's not. I think only like a quarter of the entries left in that. We're only 6 weeks into the season. So, and also with all the good teams though, like I can pick out a flaw with all of the good teams. The Eagles secondary hasn't been great this year. The Chiefs offense, especially their wideouts, haven't been clicking yet this year. Like every single good team that's like leading their division, the Dolphins defense has not been good. Yeah. You can pick out a flaw with every single good team in the NFL this season, even the division leaders.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point.
49ers are still Super Bowl favorites, but I have been hearing some people call the Lions the best team in the NFC. I think that's unbelievable recency bias just because they were the only top NFC team that didn't lose this past week. How would you rank the teams in the NFC? Do you still think it's the 49ers number 1?
Yeah, to me, it's 49ers, Eagles, Lions. I'm not going to go off of 1 week and just say, all right, this week it's got to be the Lions. Like, let's take a step back and look at the full totality of the season so far. don't get me wrong. I've been praising the Lions and especially the Lions fans. But if you were going to give me as the lights come back on for Ian, if you were going to give me a neutral field, who you taking? I'm taking the 49ers. I don't think it's necessarily that close. I actually think the Lions and Eagles for the 2 spots getting a little close. So the Eagles have been a little bit of a disappointment. I know they're 5-1, but their offense has not looked the same. Jalen Hurts has not looked the same. And you mentioned the secondary. Love Darius Slay, but they have lost some pieces. Their defensive line is still electric, but yeah, I think there's a better case the Lions are 2 at this point, but the Niners to me are still 1. I'm not going to let one game ruin the totality of the season so far.
I'm still going to say 49ers 1, Eagles number 2, Lions number 3. The Lions have won 4 games straight, but also they haven't exactly played true contenders over that 4-game stretch. They played the Falcons, the Packers, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers.
What was that?
The Falcons, who are of the 4 teams, clearly the best, but still not a true NFC contender. I admit that. They're a playoff team, not a contender.
Huh, that's weird because I have a bet with you that says Falcons to win a playoff game. That to me would lend me to believe that you thought they were a contender.
I think contender, to qualify for contender, you expect them to win 2 playoff games.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you had that cutoff in there, that nuance, if you will, because Desmond Ritter's been Desmond Ritter. What is that handshake going on over here? What you look flustered, Ian.
Falcons fans are calling for Desmond Ritter's head, and they want Arthur Smith fired. We all got to relax about the Falcons. We're going to have ups and downs. We're a young team. We looked at this year as if we made the playoffs. It's a win. We're 3-3. We're right there. We're right in the mix. And I'm seeing all over the internet that we got to cut Desmond Ritter, that Arthur Smith's a bum. We got to relax. The whole Falcons fan base, they're running around like the building's on fire. We got to relax. Let's move on here. This is going to be the guess the favorites to win each award portion of the show, where since we are now 6 weeks into the season, I think it's probably a good time to do this. I'm going to list off the major awards one by one, Sterling, and I'm going to get you to guess who the betting favorite is to win those awards.
Let's do it.
Do you think you can get them all right?
No, but I'm going to do my absolute best.
All right, let's start with the biggest one. Who do you think is the favorite to win MVP?
Man, I think Tua Tagovailoa is obviously thrown in there. I think Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill's been unreal. I know it's not a wide receiver award. Obviously, it's a quarterback award pretty much, but Tyreek's been absolutely special. I feel like just with the Miami numbers, looking at the 5-1 teams right now, McCaffrey's been great for the Niners, but it's not going to be a running back. We know this. Mahomes has been a little lackluster for Mahomesian standards. I'm going to go Tua. I'm going to say Tua is the front runner.
That is correct. 1 for 1. Now, there was at least at one sportsbook, Patrick Mahomes did take over as a slight favorite on Monday morning, but then enough bets came in on Tua that Tua took over. And in most other places, Tua was the favorite all weekend, even on Monday morning. So right now, Tua Tagovailoa is the betting favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you want to bet on it, sign up with the code SDB. Plus 350 Tua right now is his odds. We got Patrick Mahomes plus 450 in second. Then a little bit of a gap, and then we got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, number 5 on the list. A couple names that you mentioned I'm surprised are as far down the list as they are. Christian McCaffrey, 24-1.
Well, you're not getting a running back, but I do think Tyreek Hill, if he does something, what he's on pace to do, I think you're sitting here going, you might have to at least consider Tyreek Hill. And with those odds, throwing a 5 spot down isn't the worst way to spend $5.
Tyreek Hill, 75-1.
Yeah, I might throw 5 down. I mean, seriously, Ian, I just spent $5 on way dumber stuff than that.
And $5 would win you $375.
That seems like a smart move. An astute investment of my money.
And if you want to do sign up at DraftKings Sportsbook using the code STB, you place a $5 bet on Tyreek Hill to win MVP. Boom, you get $200 in bonus bets plus free parlays or sweat-free parlays. All right, so there you go. You're 1 for 1 so far. Who do you think is the betting favorite right now to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Oh, wow. CJ Stroud. Got to be CJ Stroud.
Yes. CJ Stroud is now the odds-on favorite. He is. I'm just bringing it up now, but I believe minus 125 to win.
Bijan too, probably.
No, Bijan I think is down at 3. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong odds there. CJ Stroud minus 135. Puka Nacua number 2 at plus 480. Bijan Robinson third at plus 650, and then you have a pretty large drop off, and then you have Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Davon Achane.
Surprisingly, no Bryce Young. That's not ideal for Carolina fans.
Bryce Young all the way down at the same price as Tyreek Hill to win MVP, 75-1.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, Puka Nacua, though, huge hat tip to you. I said last week on the show, I said Puka Nacua would be my favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year as far as if I were voting, but I don't get a vote, and as we've mentioned, quarterbacks always seem to get the nod, and I will say CJ Stroud has been damn impressive.
Yes. His streak without an interception finally came to an end against the Saints, but still very impressive nonetheless, and at the end of the day, he still won the game. And the Texans, all of a sudden, sneaky could be a wild card team in the AFC. I think the number 7 spot in the AFC is going to be up for grabs, and Texans look decent. They can do it.
They really do.
Next one's going to be a little bit of a trickier one. You are 2 for 2. Let's see if you can stay 3 for 3. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Who is
this was tough for me because I thought originally it was going to be Christian Gonzalez, but after his injury, obviously he's kind of fallen off. The rookie cornerback is it Witherspoon for Seattle's been really solid. Will Anderson has been good. He's been good. I'm trying to think. I'd probably say Witherspoon for Seattle, especially since he had a defensive touchdown, right? If I'm not mistaken, he had a pick 6. I think that's gonna help him. So I'm gonna go with Witherspoon here.
Witherspoon's number 2. There's a big name that you didn't mention there. You got basically everyone else in the top 5.
I did. Okay.
NFC.
I'm probably being a buffoon right now, aren't I? It's got to be
defensive
lineman, right? It's got to be an edge, and I'm just being extremely silly. Probably a top 5 pick that I'm just completely butchering on.
He fell out of the top 5.
Oh, Jalen Carter for the Eagles?
Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter minus 140, Devin Witherspoon plus 300, Will Anderson 11-1, and what probably might be the biggest mover guy who has improved his odds from where they were before the season. The safety for the Detroit Lions, Brian Branch, 4th on the list, 15-1.
Yeah, he's been really solid for Detroit. I forgot about Jalen Carter, man. They have so many defensive pieces. I remember the name, obviously, and he's been good this year. But when you have so many pieces, I'm like, no, it won't be him.
Yeah,
good for him.
A lot of candidates for this next one. So I'll be impressed if you get this one right because there's like 5 guys that could be the right answer, I think, or at least 4 guys looking at the list right now that I think are all good guesses. But Coach of the Year, who do you think is the favorite right now to win Coach of the Year?
Oh, really good question. I think Shanahan for 49ers should obviously get the nod for me. I think he's perpetually underrated. Dan Campbell, having the Lions 5-1, I think has to be there. So I'm gonna go Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell's correct.
Man, I'm on a heater.
I think I would. So Dan Campbell plus 270, just a slight favorite over Mike McDaniel plus 300. Who
Mike's been great too.
He is coaching like a historic offense. So I mean, if the Dolphins' offense can keep up this pace of production, I think it has to go to Mike McDaniel. And then you got D'Amico Ryans coming in 9-1. He'd be the candidate of. Like if the Texans make the playoffs, he'd be an obvious candidate because it more often than not goes to the coach of the most surprising team in the NFL. And if the Texans can make the playoffs, it would be them. But
wouldn't, to an extent, I think Detroit being 5-1 is pretty surprising. Like I think they're good, but this is still a little better, and they've looked better than I expected. Miami, I'm with you with Mike McDaniels. He's been incredible, but we all thought they were going to be good. Like we had no question that Miami was going to be good. And I think it's a little unfair because if the coach of the year, in my opinion, to an extent, should be, all right, like Andy should have 5. Bill Belichick should have about 9. Like, what more are they supposed to do? They have to literally go undefeated to have a chance at having a shot at Coach of the Year. At some point, I do think it gets a little silly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was a lot of offseason hype around the Lions. So, I mean, some people thought they're going to be this good, and their schedule hasn't been super difficult to start the year. But also, you got to love Dan Campbell.
Yeah, the Chiefs' only loss in Arrowhead. I mean, and they didn't play great. The Lions, I will say this, the Lions left a lot of points on the board that game.
Yeah. Comeback player of the year.
Well, it's going to be probably Damar Hamlin, but...
So it is still Damar Hamlin the favorite, but he was like a massive minus 1,000 favorite at the start of the year. He's down to minus 170. So the odds have gotten a lot closer for Damar Hamlin. Obviously hurts that he hasn't played a whole lot. I think he's only dressed for one game, I think. So that makes it a little bit difficult. Tua Tagovailoa, second on the list, plus 430. Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, third and fourth on the list.
Yeah, Tua, if he continues to do this, I don't know how. If Tua wins MVP, how is that not also comeback player of the year?
Right.
That would be pretty crazy to me.
I mean, if Damar Hamlin starts a game and
balls out,
gets a big turnover, balls out, or gets a pick six or something, then I think he becomes a lock again. But I think just the fact he's just not playing, he hasn't dressed most games, is kind of hurting his odds there.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last one, defensive player of the year.
This one's tough, man.
This one's tough because there's three players who all have odds very close to each other.
I really want to say Myles Garrett because the Browns defense has been that good, right? He's the anchor on what has been maybe the best defense in the NFL. TJ Watt feels like his name is thrown in all the time with the Steelers. It just feels like he's constantly making plays. This is typically becoming more and more, and I may be wrong here, but it always feels like edge guys, defensive linemen for the most part, because they have the gaudy sack numbers.
Right.
I'm going to go Myles Garrett because the Browns defense has been so good.
It is Micah Parsons.
Still.
The odds are very close. He's 2-1. TJ Watt's 3-1. Myles Garrett plus 350.
So, yeah.
All very close. And then a pretty big drop off. And then you have Aiden Hutchinson, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Fred Warner's been really good. If a linebacker gets it, if Fred Warner gets it, he has been such a game changer. He's just so incredible.
Yeah. I'm surprised Max Crosby is not a little bit further up the list. Still at 40-1.
Perpetually underrated, man. I love watching Max Crosby play.
So there you go. I went about 4 for 5. I helped you a little bit with defensive rookie of the year, but I'll still give you that 4 for 5. Pretty good.
I did pretty good. I got a couple of seconds. I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah. All right. My favorite topic to always talk about. I do an article every week. I usually write it, I believe, Wednesday, where I list the top 5 biggest frauds in the NFL, the most fraudulent teams in the league. So I wanted to get your take on it as well, Sterling. Who do you think is the most fraudulent team in the NFL?
Cowboys. I'm going with what you said last week. I think it was last week. They're 4-2, but they don't look like a 4-2 team to me. They hammer the Giants, they hammer the Patriots, and they hammer the Jets, and that makes them look like they've had a solid season. They had a good win against the Chargers last night, I'll give you, but they didn't look good. It wasn't like they were out here dominating. The Chargers kind of handed the game to them. Got bleeped on by the Cardinals, and then just got rocked by the 49ers. I don't think they're that good of a team. I just don't. Tony Pollard has not been as impressive as we all thought he was going to be. Maybe the larger role is actually taking a little negative effect on him. CeeDee Lamb has been good, yet I think at times unspectacular. The defense had some injuries, obviously Trayvon Diggs and one of their linebackers, Van Der Esch. But it comes down to Dak and Mike McCarthy. They're just guys. They're just fine. I've always had a little softer spot, I think, or maybe a little more admiration for Mike McCarthy than the rest of people. I just don't think he's a great head coach, but I think he's fine. But fine's not going to be good enough. Fine head coach and a fine quarterback is not good enough. They're in a tough spot of, do you try and just blow this thing up and rebuild? Or do you keep trying with fine and hopefully you get lucky? But they're 4-2. I think they're frauds to me, man.
Yeah, they were the top team on my list heading into last week. I dropped them down because they lost to the 49ers in terrible fashion. So I thought that kind of showed people their true colors. But now after they beat the Chargers, people are now back to being high on the Cowboys. So this week's edition, I think they're going to be number 2 on the list. But still, the number 1 team on my list for this week for the biggest fraud in the NFL is the Jacksonville Jaguars. a team who I was very high on heading into this year, a team who I thought could have won the AFC. Yes, they've won 3 straight games, but they were outgained by their opponents in all 3 of those games in terms of yards per play. They are now sitting in 26th in the NFL in net yards per play, 1 spot worse than the Chicago Bears. They have not looked impressive in any of their wins whatsoever. Their defense has been solid, but their offense has not been good. I think they're very lucky to have the record that they have. If the Colts didn't turn the ball over 4 times this past week, I thought they would have lost that game. I thought they actually largely got, outside of the turnovers, largely got outplayed in that game. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are the biggest frauds in the NFL.
The one pushback I'll give you, they still have beaten some decent teams in this 3-game win streak. I mean, Colts, fine, no, but Buffalo is a really good team. That's their only loss. No, they've lost 2 games, right? Buffalo's lost 2. They beat Buffalo, and then they beat your Falcons. Now, again, I'm not saying the Falcons are a good team. You know my thoughts there. But they still won fairly handily, 23-7. They've not looked great. I get it. But at this point of the season, a lot of teams have won and not looked great. The Chiefs haven't looked great, and they're 5-1. At some point, you're just stacking wins. I wouldn't call them frauds, I don't think, just yet.
But they're winning these games because of being on the right side of turnovers. A game against the Falcons, they were outgained 5 yards per play to 4.7 yards per play. Falcons had 3 turnovers, one of them being a pick 6.
Can I say, but the yards per play, and while I agree with you a lot to an extent on the impact it can have, when you have a positive turnover margin, a lot of times the other team will have more yards per play because once you get up, you're trying to run the ball out. The other team is forced to throw. So I do think there can be, I'm not saying stats are wrong. Stats are what they are. They're the statistics. But I do think there can be a little nuance in how they are perceived. And that's the one pushback I'll give.
I do agree. My pushback to your pushback is that I don't have too much of an argument for the game against the Bills because I think they did deserve to win that game. But they had a +3 turnover margin both against the Falcons and the Colts this past week. And I firmly believe that turnovers are more of a result of the offense making a mistake than it is the defense forcing that turnover and making a good play on defense for the most part.
And can I give pushback to your pushback on the pushback?
Yes.
They had the three turnover differential. What they win by? 3 scores. Technically 2 to the Falcons because there was 16 points. I knew you were going to say something. But let's be real. That's 3 scores. Come on. So they did what they were supposed to do.
All right. I'm sticking to my guns. I still think the Jaguars stink. And we are going to talk about the Jaguars game here in a little bit. But last topic here, and then we're going to dive into week 7. How many receiving yards is Tyreek Hill going to finish the season? The record is just under 2,000. Calvin Johnson. He is on pace for 2,300, which that was one of my biggest concerns when the NFL extended the regular season by a game, is that records are going to get broken that don't necessarily deserve to get broken. But if Tyreek Hill remains this pace, he would have smashed the record even with just 16 regular season games. So yeah. I hope he gets to 2,300.
I'm 100% with you with the record situation. But don't you have the same argument for when it was 14 games and now it's 16? I mean, records were meant to be broken. It's so difficult. It's why I think baseball won't ever go away from 162, because baseball is the most record-oriented sport, right? Like they had 154 at one point, then they went to 162, and then now everyone's like, all right, well, that 8 game. The NFL is what it is. Records are very important in the NFL, but to me, it's not as impactful as baseball, right? In baseball, you look at dudes' careers. Records are what you're going for, really. Football, it seems to be more ring-oriented than anything else. I will say Tyreek Hill has 814 yards in 6 games. He is averaging 19.4 yards a reception.
That's unbelievable.
Dude.
That's so crazy.
That is nuts. It's
asinine. Is he the greatest playmaker of all time? He might be the greatest playmaker of all time.
Like, you play Madden, you are not getting that against rookie. Like, you play Madden, play rookie mode, I still don't think I'm getting 20 yards a reception with a dude over 6 games. Like, this is unheard of. I think he gets well over 2,000. I know we kind of joked about it, and I said, he might actually get close because he brought it up before the season started. And I was like, he might get close, but there's too many mouths to feed on in Miami. Well, Waddle got hurt for a game or two. Devon Achane's going to be out. And Tyreek Hill's the one guy, doesn't matter. He gets open. You can double him. Doesn't matter. He will get open. I think he goes over 2K.
I'm going to say 2,100. I think he gets 2,100.
He can't keep up 19.4 yards a reception, though, can he? I mean,
that's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
All right, let's dive into week 7. Small slate, only 13 games, 6 teams on bye week, and a lot of bad games, but there are some very, very, very good games. Interesting one on Thursday night, Jaguars against the Saints. Trevor Lawrence questionable. He may or may not play. We do not know yet. Saints still very much alive in the NFC South, even though they're 3-3. No team has more than 3 wins in the NFC South, which is funny because after 2 weeks, 3 teams were 2-0 in the NFC South, and people were like, oh, maybe the NFC South is actually a half decent division. And now they're like 3-2, 3-3, 3-3, and then the Panthers who haven't won a game. So the NFC South is what we thought it was. But Jaguars, Saints are now 3-point favorites. They were 1-point favorites when it came out. Trevor Lawrence was questionable. That line jumped up 2 points to -3. What are your thoughts in this game? And if you were to bet on it, what way would you lean?
I'd take the bold choice right now, and I don't know, maybe it's not bold. I'd take the points, give them the 3 with the Jags. I know you're not a fan of that. I've not been impressed at all with the Saints. Defense still has some dudes on it, but Derek Carr has either been injured or he's been atrocious. Alvin Kamara's back, which is nice. Chris Olave and Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has been solid, unspectacular, but solid. Typically goes for 5 catches, 50 yards almost every single game. But they're just not effective. I like Alvin Kamara, but he's not really been effective on the ground. He's running for 3.7 yards a carry. He gets 6 or 7 receptions a game for 30 yards. They're just ineffective. They don't push the ball down the field. I like the Jags, especially with the points.
I like the Saints. I mean, I talked with the Jaguars. I don't think you can lose the yards per play battle on a weekly basis and continue to win games. I think that's going to come back to haunt you at some point. And I just can't. I mean, you're right. The Saints offense has not been good whatsoever, but you look at them on paper, they should be. So I keep waiting for them to have a breakout game, and I still think it's going to happen. Their biggest issue has been in the red zone. They can't score touchdowns in the red zone, which kills teams. 28th in red zone scoring percentage, touchdown on only 36.8% of red zone trips. They got to find a way to get in the end zone once they get to the red zone, and if they do, I think their offense wakes up a little bit. I think it can happen this week. I like the Saints. When I point out a fraudulent team, I get arrogant with it, and I will bet on that team every week for the rest of the season if I have to.
Well, if we look at her betting records, you're better than me, so I'm not a fan of this one.
We are on opposite sides. Lions-Ravens, intriguing battle. Some might say a potential Super Bowl matchup. Is that too bold to say?
That's too bold to say. Yeah, that's pretty bold, but it's not out of the question, though.
True measuring stick for the Lions, though, because they're going to be their toughest test since playing the Chiefs in Kansas City on opening night.
Yeah, I just want to watch this game. I don't want to bet on it. There's some games I don't want to bet on because I love watching the Ravens play football now with Todd Monken as the OC. They're way more enjoyable to watch. The Lions, I'm a fan of. Obviously, they don't play the Chiefs again unless they meet in the Super Bowl. The Lions are just, again, a very enjoyable team to watch, very easy to root for. I want to sit back on my couch, crack open a cold one, and watch this game. If I bet, maybe I just bet some over numbers in this one so I can root for Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe some Zay Flowers action. But, man, this is just going to be a great game. This is one of my favorite games on the slate.
This game is my best spread bet of the week, so I'll save my thoughts until we get to our best bets of the week. Falcons Bucks. You might argue with maybe this isn't a top 5 game of the week, but I think it is because the winner of this game does get sole possession of first place in the NFC South. If the Buccaneers win, they'll be 4-2. If the Falcons win, they'll be 4-3, and the Bucks would be 3-3. Bucks 2.5-point home favorites. I'm going to guess that you like the Buccaneers in this one because you hate the Falcons and think they're the worst team in the league.
I don't think they're the worst team in the league, but I do like the Bucks in this one. And they have the 2.5. They win with a field goal. They win with a field goal. Not a push, not a 3.5, no hook. It's 2.5. I am a fan of the Bucks in this one, so I would ride with the Buccaneers.
My prediction about the Buccaneers last week came true, and it's that they don't have a run game. So if you don't have a run game, you got to win on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield's not a guy who can win on a weekly basis without a run game to complement. And we saw that against the Lions, and I think we see that again this week against the Falcons. And I truly believe the Falcons have the weapons to get it done. They're right there. Their last two losses, they've won the yardage game, but they just turn the ball over. If they can stop with the turnovers, they're a dangerous team. And their defense has been very good.
They've gotten Kyle Pitts a little bit more involved as well over the past couple of weeks, and and Drake London. I will give you that. I just don't believe in Desmond Ridder at all. I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on the Falcons' run defense? Because Rashad White right now is still the guy. You have Vaughn waiting in the wings, but Vaughn was less spectacular than even White was, right? He was even worse, less efficient than White was last week. How is the Falcons in regards to facing against running backs?
There are 12th in the NFL in opponent yards per carry. They're giving up just 3.7 yards per rush. But if you look at rush EPA allowed, they're one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Actually, I think they might be ranked first in the NFL in opponent rush EPA per play. So a very, very good run defense. So the Buccaneers haven't been able to run the ball all season, and they're not going to be able to run the ball in this game.
And that's fine. It's going to be a lot of swing passes to Rashad White, which I need because he's my flex for fantasy football because I have a lot of dudes on bye.
There you go. It is a tough week for fantasy football because 6 teams on bye this week.
Yeah.
Some leagues are going to have to dig deep. Chargers and your Chiefs. I think I put in the wrong spread in the outline here. It is 5.5. The Chiefs are 5.5 or 6-point favorites, depending on where you look. Home game for the Chiefs, hosting the Chargers, who are coming off a heartbreaking loss on Monday night. How do you feel about your Chiefs?
All in.
Wow. You think they win big?
No. I know the Kansas City Chiefs. They play the Chargers so close. Justin Herbert never looks like a great quarterback until he plays great teams. Until he plays the Kansas City Chiefs, and all of a sudden they go, hey, you know what? I forgot. Brandon Staley's sitting there going, you know what? I forgot. We have one of the few aliens in the NFL who's actually a game changer at quarterback. Let's unleash him and let him throw the ball deep. Now, the difference is this is the best Chiefs defense and especially best Chiefs secondary Justin Herbert will have faced. I like the Chiefs to win this game, but 5.5 points, I don't know if I'm going to touch that one. That, to me, is a little bit scary. Now, if it was the +3, how you originally put in here, I was all for it, okay? I was all for the +3. 5.5? Probably not going to touch it.
Does it concern you that the Chiefs have allowed some bad teams to hang around? Only beat the Vikings by 7, only beat the Jets by 3, beat the Jaguars by 8. The game against the Broncos, they ended up covering at the end with the late field goal, but that was a close game from start to finish.
Yeah, the offense has not been great. Okay, so I'm not going to get twisted. The offense, 40 was it 43.5? Is that what it actually is with the Chiefs game? 48.5. 48.5.
I put in the wrong number.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know what I was thinking.
No, you were thinking they were playing the Falcons or something.
Yeah.
The Chiefs defense has been electric, man. It's been legitimately good, but the offense has been a worry. Wide receivers have not been getting open, but I do expect to see a larger emergence of Rashee Rice. He's been really solid. His snap count has been going up and up and up.
Yep.
If Mahomes and Rashee continue this connection they have, I do expect the Chiefs scoring to rise. I just don't think it happens quite this week. I would probably take the under more than anything else in this game.
Interesting. The best game of the week, you can make the argument the best game of the season so far, especially with how the Cowboys and the 49ers ended up being a blowout. To me, it's my most anticipated game of the season, the Dolphins against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles 2-point home favorites. Over under 52.
Sheesh.
Any feel for this, you could say, is a potential Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, this is the same thoughts I have for the Ravens-Lions game. I want to sit back and I'll do player bets on this one, but I don't have a feel at all, which, as you see my overall record, I don't think I have a feel for any game, apparently. But I don't have a feel for this one, man. The Dolphins' offense is electric.
Right.
The Eagles' secondary has been getting beat. But also, the Eagles' defensive line is incredible. Tua Tagovailoa has been learning how to fall, how much is he going to get in his own head as far as, I'm trying to protect myself. This is a very intriguing matchup. I have zero feel for this game at all.
Yeah, two very similar teams where even though the Eagles offense has kind of not been great, still it's been better than their defense overall. And obviously the Miami offense significantly better than their defense. Their defense has been below average at best. So I think we might be in for a high scoring one. I think it's going to be a very fun game, which we haven't had a lot of good primetime games this year. Am I crazy, or have a lot of primetime games been bad? Even the close games have been like kind of boring and like more of a defensive game. Like I want like a shootout.
I mean, seriously, last night, the Chiefs game, 19-8 on Thursday night. Thursday night football, I think, is always an aberration. You never know because it's the short week. I always almost take the points because of that. Luckily, I was wrong again, so you should have faded me, and the Chiefs covered by half a point, obviously. But yeah, dude, there's been some bad production on primetime games.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, baby. Everyone turns into Herbert. Lights are too bright.
Let's get into our picks for week 7. We do have to say our records. I'm 11-4, no big deal. 2-1 last week. I was right on the Vikings to win and cover against the Bears, and I was right on the Patriots Raiders under. I was wrong on my upset. I've not been good at upsets this year, although I felt I deserved this win. The Seahawks over the Bengals. I thought the Seahawks completely outplayed the Bengals, but just could not score a touchdown when they got to the red zone. Sterling 5-11 on the year, unfortunately. You did go 1-2, so you did get a win. I believe you got a win on the total. You took the under in the Cardinals and the Rams, which was a winner. But you did take Niners versus the Browns, which you even had the 5-point line before Deshaun Watson was ruled out. Upset of the week, which you've been generally pretty good on this year, but you missed it on Patriots over Raiders, which the Patriots are a tough team to watch.
Yeah, that was my last time I ever trusted them to get right. Yeah.
Week 7 though. Let's both of us. Let's get a little hot here. Best spread bet of the week. I see you have 2 listed. Are you going with 2 picks, or are you just going to pick?
Yeah, I'm going 2, baby.
I like it. Let's go.
I'm a bold man. Tampa
right.
Bay 2.5 versus Falcons. Give me Tampa Bay. I talked about it earlier. I want to make sure I get that one in there as well. Nothing against you, Ian. I appreciate your Falcon fandom, but this is straight money, baby. And then Browns -2 versus the Colts. Dude, I've been against the Browns all season long. It's time for me to give them some love because that defense is honestly really, really good. I've been going against them all season long, so I'm sure this is the time where they actually let me down since I'm back on the Browns train. But I think they covered the 2 points against the Colts.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. Just the Browns, as good as the Browns defense has been, their offense has been terrible, which concerns me a bit for them to cover as favorites, but it's only a 2-point spread.
Yeah.
Obviously I hate the Buccaneers pick because the Falcons are going to win that game outright. My favorite spread bet for week 7, Ravens -3 against the Lions. I hinted earlier that one of my best bets was going to be on this game. I think it's a sell high spot on the Detroit Lions. Like I mentioned a couple times on the show, yeah, they've won 4 straight games, but not exactly against top tier competition. And the Ravens defense has been number 2 to the Browns. I think it's Browns clear number 1 defense, Ravens number 2. Specifically, their secondary has been extremely good. I think Jared Goff, especially being on the road in Baltimore, has a tall order in front of him this week. And the Ravens the final scores have not matched up with how good they've been from an analytics standpoint. So I think those final scores are going to start to they're going to have a couple big wins here coming up, and I think this might be one of them. So
I'm with you, the Ravens, man. They've looked better than the score, which is a weird thing to say. You are what you put up. I get all that stuff,
right.
But the Ravens, they look like a sleeping giant right now, getting ready to wake up. I'm with you.
Yep. So that's my favorite spread bet. Ravens -3. Let's talk totals. I'll go with mine first because it's very easy. It is the Dolphins and the Eagles. It is 52, the highest total of the week, one of the highest totals of the season. I don't care. Give me the over. 2 good offenses, 2 defenses that have underperformed, especially the Dolphins defense, which has been, some would say, bad at worst, below average at best. I think the Eagles offense is going to have a fantastic game. I think the Dolphins offense is going to do what the Dolphins offense does. I wouldn't be surprised if 70 points are scored in this game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring one. I can't wait. I'm going to be so disappointed if this is a defensive slugfest.
13-7.
I might cry. It's two fun teams. I don't want to pick a side. I think anything could happen. Let's sit back and root for points on Sunday Night Football. Give me the over between the Dolphins and the Eagles.
I'm kind of rooting the same thing here. How I said when I sit back and watch the Ravens-Lions, I understand the Lions defense has been pretty good. I understand the Ravens defense has been really good. Give me the over 42. That still seems a little too low for me. 24-20. I'm expecting a close game here, but the Lions offense has been starting to pick it up. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the Ravens, I think, have been a sleeping giant. I'm expecting a little higher scoring output from them. So I'm taking the over of the 42 in this one.
I do not hate that whatsoever. Let's talk upset of the week. I would say that your strongest area outside of Survivor. Who is your upset pick of the week?
Jags over Saints.
Oh.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football has been weird all season long, short week. I think the Jags moved to 5-2. It's not like I'm sitting here saying the Jags are looking really, really good, but part of me is just I think the Saints are not as good as I thought they were.
Are you concerned Trevor Lawrence might not play?
Yeah, I am concerned, but I still think that whatever his name is it like Nugent or what the Tygent, the guy filling in for Trevor Lawrence, if that's the case.
Isn't it CJ Beathard? Isn't he their backup quarterback?
You could be completely right, and I could be a complete idiot.
I think so.
It's really possible.
They have the Canadian Nathan Rourke, but he's on the practice squad now.
They have enough weapons. I think they can still find a way against a team in New Orleans who just can't score. They just can't score. They don't move the ball. If you scored 17 points, you're probably leaving there with the victory.
As much as I am on the Saints this week, that the offense obviously is a big concern. And yeah, the Jaguars still have ETN. They still have talented wideout. Even if it's CJ Beathard throwing them the ball, they can, in theory, still score points. I'm obviously on the Saints in that game, but I wouldn't be shocked because I've bet on the Saints plenty of times this season, and then they've covered the spread once. My upset, I'm going against your Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chargers to win outright. I think the Chiefs have been playing with fire a little bit in recent weeks. They're letting bad teams hang around. I think the Chargers offense can hang with the Chiefs offense a little bit. I think the Chiefs defense is good, but I don't think they're as good as they've looked so far. I think we're going to see a little regression from the Chiefs defense. It's always close when these two teams play against each other.
It's fake news.
Wrong. I'm going to take the Chargers 2-1. Big upset. I'm getting bold with my upset pick this week.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate everything about that. You're wrong. It's fake news. You're a liar. The Chiefs defense is elite. Okay. No, the Chiefs defense is, yes, they are elite. And by the way, I was thinking of the Chicago backup quarterback, Bagent. Bagent. That's what I was thinking of. I know I was like, there's a guy I'm thinking of right now. Who am I thinking of? And that was that guy.
The Chiefs have played some of the worst offenses in the league so far this year, and the Bears, the Jets, and the Broncos.
And what do? They did what they were supposed to do.
They let the Jets score 20 points.
Zach Wilson turned into prime Joe Montana that game. It was absurd for a half.
All right, we'll see. It is a bold call. All right, let's finish up with Survivor. Sterling, you are still alive. And as I talked about last week, the further along you get in Survivor, the better your prize will be for me. I was eliminated in week 3 when I picked the Cowboys and I lost to the Cardinals. And so far, so the teams you cannot select the Commanders, the Bills, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Lions, or the Rams. Rams are your pick last week. They took care of business against the Cardinals. Who are you going with this week?
Oh, shoot. I was going to pick Commanders yet again. Nah, I'm just playing with you. I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are starting to trend down again. They had their fun little story at the beginning of the season. They're playing really competitive.
I agree.
They're starting to look like who we thought they were. Seattle, I think they get it done. I don't think Seattle's a great team by any means, but they don't have to be great against Arizona. They are at home. Maybe it's a cop-out picking Seattle, but I don't know another time I would ever use them later on in the season. So give me Seattle for this one.
This is your 4th time picking the team that's playing against the Cardinals. You picked the Commanders in week 1. You picked the 49ers in week 4, which I think was the Cardinals, and then Rams last week and Seahawks this week, which is actually some people use that strategy is just to find the team that they think is the worst team in the NFL and just pick against them.
So far, it's working for me, huh?
It's working for you.
Yeah.
I like that pick. I think Seattle is a great pick for Survivor. On my podcast, I gave out Seattle as my Survivor pick. Or if you want to get cute with it, for anyone who's still alive in their Survivor pool, I think the Raiders against the Bears could be a sneaky choice. You're obviously never going to use the Raiders again. They're playing against a Bears team that won't have Justin Fields. If you want to go with a little cute pick, Raiders could be interesting this week. But I think the obvious pick is Seattle. I think it's generally the right pick.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a new driver from you.
Yeah. Survive in advance. All right. This has been Stacking the Box. Sign up for an account with DraftKings. Use the code STB. Get $200 in bonus bets and no sweat single game parlays every single day when you opt in. Please subscribe to the Stacking the Box YouTube channel. We just reached 9,000 subscribers. That is great. Help us reach 10K by the end of the month. That would be fantastic. Hit like on this video. Sterling, any final thoughts?
Chiefs are gonna make you look foolish.
All right.
And by the way, the Bucks will too. I'm gonna feel bad handing you a plate next week of the 0-2 bets against you, but here we are.
Your NFC South leaders after this week. My beloved Atlanta Falcons. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we will talk to you all next week.